Hi, one of the really cool things about the Master Move groups that I run is that every week we hop online and we have what I call scrums, which is where 4 or 5 business owners, we put our heads together and we sort of nut out some gnarly issues that really affect the businesses in their sort of plight to achieve strategies and explore future horizons. And there's always these themes running, and I find it so fascinating. And there's so much gold in these meetings that I thought it would be a kind of cool idea if I started sharing some of these themes and some of these conversations from the Master Move scrums. So the first one that I thought I'd share is, it comes up a lot, is this whole problem around owners, even owners that have been running their business for 10, 15 years, still getting pulled in to do the doing in the business. And, so many times it's like, oh, I haven't had a chance to do that, stuff that we're talking about or work on that strategy because I'm back on the tools again. And so much so to the point we had one of these scrums where one of the business owners was actually wearing a hard hat and his luminous jacket out on the building site. He was actually in a meeting talking about working on the business while he was actually, literally on the tools. And which kind of made us all laugh a bit. But so it's just a common thing. So I thought I'd share some of the conversations that have come out between the business owners about what does this all mean, and why is this thing called owner dependency still an issue? So is it real or is it imagined? And that's been one of the conversations we've had, right? Because it's like, well, is it really dependent on you? Does it really need you to do that? And of course, in the moment, the answer is always yes. So we talked about something. One of the things we've talked about is mindset. Is this, if you believe it to be so, it will be so. And that's kind of a generalized principle of life, I believe. People believe that things are true, and if they believe something else was true, that would become true as well. So if you actually believe the business wasn't dependent on you and didn't need to be, and applied all your energy to not making it dependent on you, it would be a different outcome. So just really checking in as you believe that it's dependent on you, but that's because you are allowing it to be. So just checking in on your mindset. The other thing we've talked about is, well, why would you not want it to be dependent on you? What's at stake? And most of the business owners that are in the Master Move groups are owners of established business, of more mature businesses, who are making different kind of decisions than they would have made earlier in the business. It's not all about go hard, go fast, grow, sales. It's a lot more strategic. It's a lot more, where are we actually taking this? Are we going for big growth moves? Are we looking to create value and create an exit in the next sort of 5-year horizon? Are we looking for leverage and bringing in people to actually start buying into the business? They're different kind of decisions and different strategies. And you can't do any of those things if the business is constantly dependent on you. You need the business to actually be able to stand on its own 2 feet all the time, and have you doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is the CEO role, which is, guiding, strategizing, business development, culture, vision, looking into the next horizon, leading the business where it needs to go, not actually, in the field with your hard hat on. So the next thing we talked about, well, if that's the case, then what do you do to shift it? And then we got talking about, well, then you prioritize it. It has to be more important than the job that needs doing at the time, because the reality is, if you didn't do it, someone else would. And I often share the lesson that I got, which was I learned the hard way. The way I learned to let go and prioritize was, I basically nearly had a nervous breakdown about halfway through the growth of my first business, which was an advertising agency. I started having panic attacks. And a panic attack was sort of like, it was almost like an out-of-body experience that I would have in a presentation or a meeting, where I would be talking and all of a sudden it was like my brain left my body and I couldn't remember what I was talking about, and I would just freeze. And I did it a couple of times in a really important presentations, and my team were freaking out because I would just be, and sometimes I would freeze for 5 minutes, and like the whole presentation would stop. It was hugely embarrassing. And it really problematic, to the point where I sort of started saying I can't present. And of course, my team couldn't, the business needed me to present. or so I thought. I went to a hypnotist to see if I could stop having these panic attacks, and he basically diagnosed severe stress and said that, you know, I didn't need hypnotherapy. I needed to actually let go and have a break. And my doctor said the same thing, and I was pretty much sent on a 6-week sabbatical to Europe, completely off the grid, no contact with the business at all. Terrifying thing for me to do. When I came back, the business was in great shape. My team really stepped up. They were running the business. They were solving the problems. And I hadn't needed to get back on the tools or get involved because I wasn't there. And they had worked it out themselves. And I guess which leads, you know, so the priority was then that if you prioritize not doing it yourself and actually prioritize the need for the business to not have you involved because of where you're taking it in the next stage of the business, then you see it in a different light. Which leads me to the next one, which is around that whole trust issue, which clearly was my problem. I don't think it's necessarily the problem of a lot of the business owners in the groups that I'm running now. You know, I don't think trust is necessarily the issue. But trust is a tricky little critter. So, you know, for me, it was, I didn't know I wasn't trusting them. I was just not letting go. And it took me going away and coming back to realize that, you know, when someone's off sick, I didn't step in and do it because I wasn't there. And they found someone else to step in and do it. They actually could solve the problems without me stepping in and getting involved. And I vowed at that time that I was never going to do that again, that I was not going to step in. And if someone was off sick, I would let my team find someone else to do it. You know, if they had to bring in a contractor or they had to tell the client that it couldn't get done or whatever, but me getting in and doing it was no longer an option. And we all agreed on that. So this whole issue of trusting your team and having a team around you of people that are senior enough to be able to do the work that needs to be done and not have you need to do it. Which kind of leads me to the next thing that we've been talking about, which is about, well, for some business owners, they've actually kind of gone, well, the business is at a point where the sort of work that's coming in, only I can do. It's really high level, it's really specialist, only I can do it. And I had, you know, one particular business owner was, you know, like this work had come in and he had this team of people and they were all sitting around twiddling their thumbs almost because all of the work that was coming in, only he had the skills and experience to do. And so the conversation was around, well, do you need to change the model? You know, like that's either you need to bring in different type of work or you need different people around you, or you need a different structure of how you break down that work that enables everybody to get in and deliver it. And so for him, that's like the model had kind of evolved into something that was actually a bit dysfunctional without him realizing. So, and it's not sustainable to have him doing all the work and his people not doing any work. That was just crazy. So it might be that you need to change the model and that puts more support in place that enables you to step out. You know, but we talk about these things and it always comes back down to the same thing, is that you have to prioritize it and you have to make it happen. And talking about it and going back on the tools repeatedly, year in, year out, especially if you're getting into sort of, you know, the last sort of quarter of the, you know, of the business, of your time in the business. You know, if you're only going to be there for another 5 years, you've got to start extracting yourself, because it'll never grow beyond you. You'll never be able to exit it or bring other people in to take over if you can't get over your belief that the business is dependent on you. So interesting, we have these discussions and, you know, I have my views and other people have other views and they don't always agree with me. So if you would like to sort of know more about how these magical master moves groups and programs work, they're very powerful and a huge amount of fun. Just message me, email me, whatever, and love to have a chat.